I was doing it for like 4 or 5 years. And then when I said to Dan that I was doing F45, just the first thing he said was,
"It's not HIIT."
F45
and I'm like, it says
HIIT.
it on the box that
It
it's
ain't
HIIT.
it. It ain't HIIT.
Yeah,
Insane.
it's good marketing.
Well, as a marketer, I suppose I can appreciate the craft on it and the grift. G'day, everybody. This is How to Get Good. My name's Michael Beveridge. We're on a quest to find out how to get good in life.
An odyssey.
I'm joined by my friend Benny to my right and Dan to my left. Now, when it comes to HIIT, I actually have just found out that I have no idea what it is, which is really exciting because I like learning new stuff about fitness. Benny, you've been doing you've done HIIT before?
Yeah. I've done HIIT. I've done things that aren't HIIT, like F45, which is what you do.
Well, I thought it was HIIT, and I'm actually really interested to hear about sort of like, and it's not, is it rules, Dan, you'd say about HIIT, or is it just like definitions?
Yeah, well, like HIIT training is all about cardio work. It's really short bursts of high intensity followed by rest periods repeated over multiple rounds. And so...
And no weights.
Well, there's been no HIIT training protocols studied that have incorporated weights. It's all cardio work. And the idea is you're trying to push more into peak anaerobic or peak cardiovascular output, like VO2 max, as an example. And through that, you get a hormetic or like adaptation over 24, 48 hours or a longer period.
But the thing that's interesting is like the no weights component is for the pursuit of this epoch, right? Which maybe you can give us a bit of a DL on, but also like I think that's interesting because some classes you go to, which are like maybe F45, they have a little bit of weights, but you're not maybe doing enough rest or enough weight to then get the hypertrophy. So you're kind of getting not the maximal benefit of the weight training,
well, that was
but you're also not getting the epoch. So you're falling in between. So I don't know, Dan, maybe.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with F45. I reckon they did a great job in bringing community and getting people back into training that hadn't potentially trained in a long time. And there are, like, you're trying to achieve two things, I suppose, with circuit training where you're both doing strength and conditioning.
On paper, it seems like it makes sense.
But it's not proper HIIT. And I suppose HIIT has really been bastardized by the fitness industry because it's actually a difficult product to sell because to do it effectively, you need to punish yourself. And it's difficult for most people who want to do classes to push them to that limit.
You can't take a cute selfie after HIIT.
The like two probably most effective styles of HIIT are going to be done in 10 to 20 minutes. And so selling 10 to 20 minute classes, it is just not like a viable thing for a fitness.
But that seems like you could cycle through more people. Like the problem with HIIT is, I mean, with F45, it's like 45 minutes. Like
but there's like time between each. Like just
okay, but we're not here to talk about like the business product of it. Like so, here
how to get rich.
What it is, Dan. Maybe you could hit us with like kind of the 3 or 4 most common protocols, the trade-offs between them.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the easiest one to start off with, if you have a relatively good base level of conditioning, is the Norwegian method, and so that's doing cardio work, either running or cycling. You could probably even do it on a rowing erg for 4 minutes. At your near maximal intensity that you can have continuously across the 4 minutes, right? The continuous nature of your pace.
Don't blow yourself up. Try get to the end, but
That's right.
by the end you are cooked.
Yeah, and then you have 3 minutes of rest, which you'll fully catch your breath.
Yeah.
And then you do 4 rounds of that. So 28 minutes in total, not including your warm-up or your cool-down. That's the first one. That's pretty approachable, but a bit of trial and error to get that continuous pace or run rate right. The next is the Wingate method. And so that's also reasonably well studied. That is 30 seconds of maximal work rate, followed by 3 minutes of rest, and then repeated 4 to 6 times. And so like the 30 seconds of maximal work rate where you're basically like sprinting for your life or rowing for your life, is going to be super tough. Your work rate's going to go up here and then down, but you push to your limit in the 30 seconds. And in the 3 minutes break, you're going to catch your breath completely, right? So doing 4 to 6 rounds of that is probably more approachable for someone at an intermediate level. If you're hardcore, then you go to the Tabata. And the Tabata is probably where HIIT really kind of began in its kind of popular form. HIIT in Tabata form is a timing protocol where it's 20 seconds of maximal work rate, followed by only 10 seconds of rest, completed in 8 rounds. And so completed in 4 minutes, not including warm up and cool down. But beyond no illusion, you will be completely fucked.
And this is
at the halfway point, and you've got to keep pushing to the end point. And the dose response profile here is nonlinear. So like the more you gas yourself, the more you drive something called excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which is maybe it's called oxygen debt. The more you move into oxygen debt by pushing past your limit in all of those rounds, the more you'll experience this afterburn effect. And the afterburn effect is pretty profound. You'll noticeably feel more energized for up to 48 hours afterwards as your basal metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate is elevated.
Do we know what the actual increase in the metabolic rate is? Because this is from like a calorie consumption like point of view, right?
Yeah, I can't remember from some of the studies on Tabata as an example around the increase in the resting metabolic rate over the 48-hour period, but it is significant. And then the other effect of the afterburn is in terms of your androgen hormones. And so you are likely to experience a increase in testosterone as well as growth hormone for up to 48 hours afterwards. And so the idea is, again, it's similar, I suppose, to the ice bath. It's a stressor. If you push yourself to your limit with intervals, you drive a whole afterburn effect where your body is looking to adapt and return to homeostasis.
Yeah. And I think like the thing that stands out to me in the most interesting part there is like the shortest version of it can be the most hard and the most difficult. And that maybe pulls it into like the experience of doing this. But like in my experience, like doing a Tabata and actually...
Have you done a Tabata?
Done a Tabata, yeah. And I've done a Tabata... I've done a Tabata not properly and a Tabata properly. And so not properly being you're not going
truly
100%,
committing to the bit.
Or you kind of get the fear halfway through and you start looking to the finish line, you start pacing yourself a bit, and 20 on, 10 seconds off is not challenging when you do that. But so like for me, the defining feature of all HIIT training is like how hard are you hitting it? Like if you do whatever protocol you like, but optimize for the protocol as opposed to optimizing for the effort, which is you just have to fully send it. If you don't send it, it will be easy. If you fully send it, it will be very, very, very challenging.
And that's an intangible, right? Like there's no way to tell someone whether they're doing it right. Only they will really know. Or is there a heart rate that we can optimize to more? Is there a quantitative outcome that can let someone know they've really pushed themselves? Because I run up some steps at like 75% and I'm fucked by the end.
It's all like it's relative. Like you will see someone on the ground cooked, face red, puffing, like with that look in their eyes. It's like, I'm not coming back to this world for a while. They've done it. If people are just like, puffing a little bit, hands on their hips and they're kind of walking out of it, they have not done it.
Do you find it's better to do, as someone, Dan, I'm sure you've done Tabata method.
Yeah, for a long time. Love it. Well, I mean, I hate it when I'm doing it, but I love it afterwards.
Do you find doing it with someone else helpful?
Yeah, I think anything that involves like high levels of intensities, whether it be HIIT or F45, then it helps to be able to do that in the room with other people because there's a sense of camaraderie. But I think importantly, there's a sense of accountability too. Yeah. The other thing I should have mentioned that where HIIT all came from is that it's a highly time ROI method to improve your VO2 max. But there are also other flow-on effects like the afterburn. And so even for like athletes who already are well-trained, a 6-week HIIT Tabata protocol can lead to a plus 10% or more improvement in their VO2 max for elite athletes. And for untrained individuals, even just like 4 sessions of proper HIIT can lead to a significant improvement in VO2 max.
Why do we care about VO2 max?
Yeah, what's good about it?
I mean, the way to think about VO2 max is like, sure, it's like it has previously been a metric only really used in research purposes or in athletes. And so VO2 max is the maximal level of oxygen that you can breathe in, send to your muscles, utilize by your muscles, and then extract.
So let's say, hypothetically, practical application of VO2 max is being able to root better?
Well, so like if you just think about simplifying that whole framework of like the maximal, it's just how you utilize oxygen. And oxygen is the currency of energy, along with mitochondria and ATP, like we spoke about last time. And so the more efficiently you're able to utilize oxygen, the more everyday energy you're going to have also as a result. So it's not just about athletic performance, it's about how you feel in your everyday life. And so it's just like whenever you go do more cardio training, as an example, you just generally feel better. You feel like you have more energy.
So HIIT is super time efficient. It's really great for VO2 increases, even in like beginners all the way to like trained athletes.
That's right.
It seems very cheap.
It's good for, it's cheap. It's good for,
it's actually really expensive.
Well, unless
in willpower.
In willpower.
Yeah, and that's...
Well, beyond no illusion.
No, it's really
fucking hard.
Yeah, I think there's a reason I haven't done it and you two have, and I think there's a reason you two look like you do with your shirts off and I don't, because I lack that insane burn and drive.
I don't recall when you've actually seen me with my shirt off. So
I've imagined. I've got a rich, vivid imagination.
Great. Just back on the summary. So HIIT is time efficient. It's good for VO2. It's good for increases in the basic metabolic rate.
Yep.
And it's also good, I don't know if we touched on this, for not cannibalizing muscle.
Yeah, so the anabolic hormones you get as a result, which is the anabolic kind of afterburn effect along with the metabolic after effect, is a profound effect.
And that's different
varying
to
degrees of research on like whether that's true or not, but it is. If you are thinking about your overall strength and conditioning programming, you should be including both traditional strength work with zone 2 or light, low intensity, steady state cardio, along with a HIIT session. All three of those things together are going to help you drive your overall body composition.
And that
goals.
last one on the muscle, the catabolic muscle kind of,
Yep.
that relative to what would, a 60-minute long run.
Yeah, so like the longer you do any form of training, whether that be strength training or whether that be cardio endurance work, the longer you do that work for, the more your body releases cortisol to surface stored energy, and it cannot, surface fat and surface stored glucose, but it also releases lean muscle mass to be converted into glucose too. And so cortisol is an absolutely really important hormone, but in excessive levels can be counterproductive to your overall strength and conditioning goals.
Okay, so running makes you skinny, HIIT makes you shred.
It's an important part of your overall portfolio of strength conditioning work.
If you're starting out, I would try a machine, because if you are giving max effort, your form goes to shit. And like doing that, not like, as Dan was saying, if you're running, like the injury risk can just get really high. So if you're starting out, get on a bike, get on a rower, do 4 minutes on, 2 minutes off, or 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off.
Yeah, well, you could, but again, I think you will struggle to get up to like your maximal work rate really quickly. So fine for Norwegian, but for like Tabata, probably not as optimal. But to Benny's point, the thing to bear in mind though, when you're doing something on the treadmill as an example, is it can be really hard to transition up to the speed that is your maximal speed.
By the time the 20 seconds.
And then the second, if the alternative is doing a skill mill, which is probably far superior to a treadmill because it actually.
What's that?
So it's the belt,
the curved one.
It's a curved treadmill. Self-powered.
It's a belt. That's right. Which should be intuitive, but it actually better simulates the biomechanics of running.
Yeah, you're on your toes a little more as opposed to
you're driving.
Heels.
You're driving, right?
Yeah.
So whereas a treadmill, you just lift your leg and put it
that.
out in front, and then it pushes it back for you.
Yeah.
Which is not how running works. And so it better simulates running, but like I did it this morning. I did Tabata this morning.
What?
And I did it on
How
skill.
often do you do Tabata?
Tomato, yeah. Tomato. Look, once a fortnight, I'd say.
Oh, that's right.
I used to be doing it once a week, but it just depends on my schedule and my willpower.
Yeah, it's so tough. But I guess so we're kind of talking about now like how people can actually do it. What's the most accessible way? There's like outdoor, and then the recommendation there is probably don't go straight for Tabata, risk of injury. So if you have a running track, maybe you're doing the 4 minutes on, 2 to 4 minutes rest, that works. Or even some of the other protocols Dan was talking about, 30 seconds, kind of 30 off or whatever it may be.
Do you reckon it'd be good to go like a month of Norwegian, a month of, what was the second one? Westgate? No.
Wingate.
And then, or is it just you've got to like listen to your body?
No, well, I think listening to your body is always probably like that is just a good heuristic to apply.
But an enforced timeline, I think, is helpful for some people.
Like, I think if you like haven't done any cardio training, if you're like, I'm a little bit overweight, I've deprioritized my health, then probably just starting off with some lower intensity steady state cardio. So going for a 45 to 6 minute run where you can hold a conversation, working up the base fitness that way, then doing the Wingate method, maybe a month, and then working up, the Norwegian method, and then working up to the Wingate method. Tabata probably wouldn't be I'd suggest only doing that when you've started to build a much better level of base conditioning.
I look forward to doing a Tabata with you, just to see, I wouldn't, I'm always willing to give stuff a try.
It's great to do it with other people because it keeps you accountable.
Now, this is because what's easily consumable is a great way to start. Would F45 help you in your the start of your quest?
So like the F45 combined circuit training,
or any of those circuit training
at a relatively moderate level of intensity with short rest periods. And so like, although it's not technically HIIT, it is improving your overall strength and conditioning. The one thing to be really careful, and this is what I'm only thing I'm really critical of F45 is that for most people that are members of F45, when under strain, like 10 minutes into the class, 20 minutes into the class of doing all these rounds, is the safe form starts to deteriorate. And see people doing rows and bent over rows and deadlifts and all sorts of exercises that are technically difficult and also dangerous. Their form deteriorates, and so they injure themselves. And so like we've all heard of people that went to F45 and got a big injury they got as a result.
Sounds like F45 is pretty hard.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean,
it sounds like it's actually.
Yeah,
I don't know if injuring yourself is the measure of success.
Fucking give me something here, boy.
Yeah. So I think there's like a lot of gyms.
It's better than nothing. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of gyms offer classes. Put that on my
fucking gravestone.
So a lot of gyms are offering classes that are kind of HIIT-ish themed in nature. They range from like being not exclusively HIIT to just some type of format like F45, but there are other ones that get better. Like I think Orange Theory is probably closer to it than F45, but there are shit tons of gyms. So I mean, it's kind of just like go out.
Can you do it at a gym?
Yeah,
like with sled
on
pushing.
The machine.
Like is sled pushing an option?
Sled pushing would be more like it's more power and strength. So like again, you can struggle to you could maybe drop the weight and try and go faster.
You get lactic poisoning. I tried to do it on Tabata. You get lactic poisoning in your leg.
I vomited when I did it with sleds because okay.
So I think you want less resistance than a sled. So that's why these exercise bikes are quite good.
Is lactic poisoning just?
Oh, it's just the feeling of it is like you just massively overcook. Your legs like burn like hell, and you can get really nauseous and vomit.
Technically, lactate doesn't cause the burning sensation in your muscles, and lactate as a metabolic byproduct of anaerobic activity is actually quite powerful. Your brain feeds on lactate, and so that's why after lactate-based training, you'll experience cognitive benefits. It's a really fascinating thing.
Is lactate... I mean, that's...
we'll dive into that one later.
Onto maybe... So that's probably like how to do it. I think, I think on the personal experience stuff for me... For like getting started, I think, it is really about like mentally being able to get through the session. And so I think what is like very, very helpful in my experience is in the time intervals of rest, if you are going full send, you can start to get pretty panicky about the next set that's coming up. And so halfway through the session, you've done a second set and you're like, holy shit, I've got to do this again. And it's coming up in 30 seconds. Oh shit, it's 10 seconds now, I've got to go. And so like that panic actually makes a session way harder. So the best advice I ever got was just like find a mantra that kind of helps you like focus and ground. And so one that I use a lot is rest, relax, recover. So you finish your 30 seconds or your 20 seconds or, your 4 minutes, whatever it is, and you're sitting there literally just like breathing, rest, relax, recover, saying it in your mind or out loud, and you're just repeating that, and it stops you from jumping to the future, being like, oh, fuck, it's coming up. How hard am I going to do it? I got 3 more, so I better like pull back so I can't. So you just stay in it, rest, relax, recover, go again.
I think presence is a good piece of advice
Yeah.
For everything, really. Do you have like a Apple Watch that beeps at you? Do you have a timer up on the wall? Are you looking at a stopwatch?
For the timing component? Well, if you're in a class, they will tell
with a bunch
you.
of people?
Yeah, but I would
Tabata as a class?
Yeah, not Tabata, but other kind of HIIT sessions.
Okay.
But otherwise, I just get a timer on my phone, put it next to the machine if I'm doing it on an assault bike.
Because it'd probably be nicer just to like be sitting there and then you hear beep beep and you're like, oh shit, I got to go, as opposed to...
Yeah, the other one is I probably wouldn't like, because I mean, you said sitting, but you were kind of implying like lying down with like how you kind of pull back in your chair. I'd never do that. Don't let your head get under like your body. Otherwise I get really, really sick. So you want to stay standing up if you can. Don't want to sit down.
Advice.
Don't want to lie down.
Is that based in...
I don't know if that's based in anything, but that's just my experience of it.
Well, I remember running cross country back in the day. The coaches were always like, don't lie down, put your hands above your head and breathe.
Definitely open up. Like you want to breathe. You want to like focus on something that, for me, the main thing that prevents you from doing it or doing full effort is the fear of what's going to happen afterwards. So you're like, can I fully let the lid off here? And often you'll be like, oh no, it'll hurt so much on the other side. So you give it like 80% and no one knows the difference. Right. So it's like
That's hard, like pushing yourself. And
yeah,
I suppose
it's a
that's
really
different,
mentally, I mean, Dan touched on it a few times, like Tabata is like really, really tough mentally, and you really need to fully send it in order to get like all the benefits.
You've done an 80% session, I'm sure. Just you've let yourself do it. And then you've done a 100% session.
Yeah.
What is the difference in feeling when you know you've given it everything?
Well, the
I want it to be
difference in
discernible
feeling
from
is
80.
like you are gasping for
I mean,
air.
like the benefits, like later.
Yeah.
Like,
So like that's probably a good heuristic is like if you're not fucking fully gassed, then you haven't pushed yourself to the intensity level required to drive the desired benefit. So how do I feel afterwards? Well, I feel it's like the ice bath. It's like I don't need a coffee. I don't need. I'm energized, but my mental acuity is greater.
do you get not DOMs, but like is
Oh,
do you
look,
hurt the next
if
day?
if you like have really poor neuromuscular recruitment or like low conditioning in that particular mode of exercise, then you may get some DOMs, but that's pretty unlikely. And then for 48 hours afterwards, I just feel like I've got more energy.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good ROI.
Yeah, I get the same feeling. The ice bath is like a really good description of it. I feel like the lights have just been turned on and you just kind of got, after the, 30 minutes or whatever it usually takes me to recover from a session where I'm cooked, and then I like get a buzz that is probably like not, it's unmatched versus like, something like going to the gym and doing weights or something.
So it seems the major cost here is a willingness to look inside yourself and say, yeah, I'm going to give this 100%.
Willpower. Yeah.
Because it's not, would you say the ROI on like giving 60%, just it's not there, go do something else?
You still feel like feel all the benefits of exercise. Like you get increased energy, you feel more alert. But like, I think to really get that afterburn effect, experientially, I feel like you can feel it, which is like when you go full send, you're fully cooked, and then you do feel like you are running hot for the rest of the day, is my experience.
Well, this is How to Get Good. I'm Michael.
I'm Benny.
Thanks for listening.